Welcome back. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to use CloudFormation to build a VPC using a template file. So the first thing we need to look at is the template file. Again, you'll find this in your course download, in the code directory, CloudFormation, and then create vpc-cf.yaml. So what this template will do is it's going to deploy an Amazon VPC. It's going to have two public and private subnets across two AZs. It deploys an internet gateway with a default route on the public subnets, and then a pair of NAT gateways, so you get one in each availability zone for the private subnets. Now this particular template file is written in YAML, and we can see at the top here we've got some parameters. We've got the environment name. This is where we're going to put in the name of the environment, so we can type that in to CloudFormation at the time that we deploy this template, and then it's going to use that in various parts of this template file. We define the VPC CIDR. Now the VPC CIDR is defined here. You can change this if you like, and you can also change it in the console. So the default is going to be 10.800/16, and then we're going to have the public and private subnets, and they each have their CIDR blocks defined as well. So I'm going to leave those as they are. I'm not going to change anything there. And we can then see the resources that are going to be created. We're going to have a VPC, an internet gateway attachment, and then the public and the private subnets. You can then see the NAT gateway elastic IPs and the actual NAT gateways themselves, public route table, the default public route that's going to be added to the route table, and then we can see the associations for the subnets to the route table, and then we get the private route table as well, and the same kind of configuration. At the bottom here you can see the outputs that will be generated. So we'll see a reference to the created VPC, and we'll see some information about the subnets that are being created. So we don't need to modify anything in this template file. So let's go to CloudFormation. I'm just going to type CloudFormation at the top here, and then in CloudFormation what you do is you create something called a stack. So we'll create a stack. We're going to choose template is ready, and you'll see there are some sample template files here as well, so you can actually deploy some very simple stacks which AWS have defined. We have a template. It's not on S3. We're going to upload it. So I'm going to choose the file, and in my code directory go to CloudFormation and then choose this option, create vpc-cf.yaml. Choose that file. And what we can do now is actually view in Designer. So let's do that. We're going to go into the Designer and have a look. So we can see a visual representation of what is going to be created. So you can see up here the NAT gateways, the public subnets, the actual VPC surrounding everything else. So you get a picture view. And what I'm going to do then is click this little button here which says Create Stack. That takes us back here. Click on Next. I'm going to call this one my-cf-vpc. And I'm going to copy the stack name, and I'm going to use that as the environment name. So when we create our VPC, it will actually have a name, and this will be the name because it's going to be defined as a parameter. And this is where you can override the template file and specify your own CIDR block and then the subnet CIDRs as well. I'm going to leave these as they are. Going to click on Next again. Now it says estimate cost. What this will do is it will actually just open up the AWS calculator, but you still have to enter all the values yourself. Unfortunately, it doesn't fill them out. Now, the only thing that's going to cost money with this one is we do have two NAT gateways. They're not in the free tier, so they do cost money, but we're not going to run them for very long. I really just want to show you how to build this, and then you can delete the stack once you've finished. So let's scroll down to the bottom, click Create Stack. And we've got a create in progress, and you can keep hitting the refresh here and you'll be able to keep on top of what's actually happening. So we can see we've got several items that are currently being created. And there we go, the create is now complete. We can see that we've got this whole list of items that are being created. If we head over to resources, we can see the resources that are being created, and you can see the logical and the physical IDs. So the logical IDs are relevant within CloudFormation, whereas the physical ID is relevant outside of CloudFormation. So you can see some of these are actual links to things like the internet gateway itself, and the security group itself. And under outputs here, you can see we've got some of the IDs associated with these various resources. So let's head over to the console and see what's being created. Let's head into VPCs. And in here, we can see we have the my-cf-vpc. If we go to subnets, we've got some subnets that have been created. So we've got the private subnet in AZ1, the public subnet in AZ1, and then the public and private subnets in AZ2 as well. If we go to route tables, we can see that a couple of route tables have been created. So for high availability, what's happened here is the route table has been created for each availability zone. So this is the one for the private subnets, so they get pointed to their own NAT gateway. For high availability, that means we're not pointing to one NAT gateway from different AZs. So each of these will point to a different NAT gateway. We then have the public routes here pointing to an internet gateway. And if we go to internet gateways, we can see we've got a label on this one. So this is the one that's been attached to this new VPC. And if we head down to NAT gateways here, we can see the two NAT gateways that have been created, and each of those has an elastic IP address. So that's it. That's how easy it is to create a VPC using a CloudFormation template. So once you've gone through the work of creating the template, now you can use it. And of course, you can always find snippets of template files. You don't have to write them from scratch. And then you can just modify and add bits in as you need to. Now, back in the CloudFormation console, what I can do to delete all of this is just hit the delete button. And that will delete all of the stack resources. So let's just delete stack, and that will delete. Now, this does rely on the fact that you haven't made modifications. If the actual resources differ from the template, that can cause problems. Now, in this case, it should delete successfully. I always recommend watching CloudFormation, coming back and checking, making sure it has completed the deletion process successfully. And if it hasn't, you might have to go in occasionally and delete things manually yourself, or find out what's stopping the process. So as long as you haven't modified anything, there shouldn't be any issues, and CloudFormation should be able to successfully complete the deletion process.